So you may not have a golden pot to spinning in life and mundane. Guaranteed pieces go missing in this complex jigsaw. You get sucker punch. It's not about the falling down, it's how you get back up. Confucius said, God knows how I wasn't there. He could have stayed and lost the sacrifice for all I gave. His words don't make him the author of my day. My comedy of error, trust me, learn to walk away. You're different. Your soundtrack's different. Don't wanna walk different. All you gotta do is switch. Play a different song. Turn the record around and around. Spinning round and round. And then switch. Turn it upside down. Turn the record around and round. Spinning round and round. Switch. Around and around and around and around.
When nobody is born to perfect, nobody is born a privileged king. And in your eyes I may be broken, but in somebody's eyes I'm the greatest thing they have ever known. But just because you think me different and I'm not like you, and my ocean may be just a different kind of blue, and my voice may be lost in the crowd, You will see me, and when you look into my eyes, when you hear me cry, I will need my mother's lullaby, because I'm If you're blind to all I bring, if you're blind to the love I have to give, then your world must be so empty. Your heart beats, but you haven't really learned to live. You see my sparking light, a million of your darkest nights. My arms will wrap around you and just hold you as tight as my body will allow. Just open your eyes. You will see me when you look into my eyes, and when you hear me cry, I will need my mother's lullaby, because I'm human, because I'm human, because I'm human, because I'm human. I have a heart and soul and I can make choices. I am the choir of a million voices. Can you hear me call out to you? Can you see me? Can you look into my eyes? You will save me when you look into my eyes, when you hear me cry. I will sing my mother's lullaby, because I'm human.
Hello, welcome back to Welsh Esports League. It's season number 5. It's the 4th time we're back with Rainbow Six Siege action. I am GoluMolu. I'm joined again. It's been a while, but we've got Conch back with us at Welsh Esports League, and I'm excited to get into another season of R6. We have 2 best of ones lined up for you tonight, and we're going to be starting with the Goats taking on the Robins. We're waiting for the map ban to finish up, but in the meantime, Conch, how you doing? Been a while.
Absolutely, brother. I'm doing good. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while, me and you. I think, when was the first time we ever casted? It must have been Cardiff vs Swansea. Real life event, I think it was, right? I think. That was a long time ago.
One of the varsities a couple of years ago, I think.
That was a long time ago. Funny enough, the map bans have come through, and it's looking like Clubhouse is going to be the map. And I believe, actually, our first map we ever casted was Clubhouse. That's a funny little dynamic. To think
What a
about.
throwback. It comes full circle.
Comes all back full
Narratives,
circle.
storylines, plot. All these things are important.
I'm excited to see what comes on through. Obviously, we had the most recent balance patch update come in where they changed a few characters. Wamai's out of the board, so Wamai's not out of the board, but in terms of his ACOG's no longer around, which basically means he's out of the board. Let's be real. But I'm interested to see. Malusi's always very good. Basement on Clubhouse, so potentially we'll see some play with that. Echo getting his ACOG back. Now, am I the only one who's excited? Can I just say, am I the only one who's excited for that?
Yeah, I think the Malusi buff is insane, by the way. Like, I refuse to call this a nerf when she's gotten a shotgun and a 4th Banshee. But I mean, I expect her to be seen a little bit today, especially she's already quite a popular operator. You do lose that ACOG, so it's going to sort of hurt some of these teams in taking those comfortable gunfights that you want to take at the slightly longer ranges. But I think, most of these players are going to be pretty ready to take on the angles with the 1X. So I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue.
100%. The other thing that we have to talk about is the huge hit to Azami. Now, it's going to be interesting. I think Azami's still going to get quite a lot of play, especially when it comes to playing in Garage on the rafters. Having those Azamis makes you so incredibly safe, considering that shields are no longer really in the fray. But what I'm interested to see is that now that Azami isn't as powerful and there are ways to deal with her a lot more, it now frees up that option of Azami not getting banned, and it means then that we might potentially see other bans come on through. A noticeable one might be Malusi on this map. A lot of people like to tend to rush that bottom site once they get control of certain areas. So by flooding very quickly, Malusi kind of shuts that down. With the 4th Banshee now means that she can not only control all doorways, but she'll stop that rush from coming on through. It's like an alert constantly coming on through. So it's going to be an interesting thing. Is his army still going to be trying to be removed off the plate, or are we going to see something like more traditional with the Kaid? Because we all know how annoying Kaids can be on a map like Clubhouse.
Yeah, especially you're looking at Tubram as well. It's one that you often see get taken away. I think we're in an interesting position, right, where there's quite a few things that you want to take off the board, take away from the defense, and how you prioritize those, especially when it comes to what your opponents want to get rid of. It is certainly going to be interesting to see what these teams' approaches coming into the first day of our season. We should note that our current champions are not back. We do not have Swansea returning for this season of Siege. So that does mean we get to see a new team lift the mantle, and the midfield has always been incredibly tightly packed in Siege. We've always had 2, 3, sometimes even 4 teams in Season 2, all pushing to try and get into that second seed spot for that final spot in the final against Swansea. So, yes, that storyline of pushing for like the 4 times championship isn't going to be here this season. But there's a lot more coming up with the other teams that have remained, and I'm really looking forward to seeing which of them can sort of push themselves ahead. Obviously, the Pirates have always had a very good run. The Ponies they started off quite poorly in season 1, but then rebuilt their roster for season 2 and 3. It was in tournament 3 and 4. So I'm looking forward to seeing what is coming up with some of the returning rosters, some of the new players coming onto these rosters as well. I think we're in for a treat of a season.
Absolutely. The one thing I will note is that Red Kites, which is like a new team coming into L5, they were the original Robins roster. And listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I know quite a lot of people who are on the Red Kites, and I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm more sort of rooting for them because I know that they've got a lot of strong potential. And I believe the last time the only people that really gave them a real good challenge was Swansea. So with them out of the board, who knows? But like you said, all these teams have had time to practice. There's a couple of new names popping on through. It's still anybody's game to play for. We can't really sit here and say, hey, so-and-so is going to win because, next thing you know, someone swoops in and completely blows out of the water, which always tends to be the case. But, I mean, that's just Siege for you, isn't it? It's such a dynamic, evolving game, and it just keeps moving. And I mean, that's just what keeps us coming back after almost 10 years. God, how have I been playing this game for that long? I will never know.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of time now, hasn't it? We're in year 9 already. Feels kind of insane to say, with all the changes that have come and gone. Obviously, a lot of operators added since our last season. I think the big one's obviously going to be Fenrir, right? You look at his defensive powerhouse. Ram wasn't around during the last Welsh Esports League season either, I believe. So there's definitely some options for both the attack and the defense now. Sort of add into their arsenal. I'm excited to see how that sort of reinvigorates team setups, especially on that defensive end, right? You're now looking at a buffed Malusi, a Fenrir. You lost that ACOG, but those magnets still do exactly what they did before. You're just maybe a little bit less fraggy at those extended ranges if you're running the MP5K. Does add that value now. Maybe you start to see a bit of the AUG creep in, because a real big decision point on Wamai was like, I might like the AUG, I might prefer the lower fire rate, higher damage, but that ACOG's real good, Like, the ACOGs are great, so now you get a little bit more flexibility in that choice. I do wonder if we see... I expect we'll still see a decent bit of my play, Maybe it opens some angles for Jaeger to be playable again, but maybe Jaeger needs a little bit of love on the sideline as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. The only thing that anyone ever played Jaeger for was his gun, and unfortunately, it's a little bit still in the mud. Like you said, there's so many options, and everything is so well diverse at the moment in Siege. And you have a lot of like what is considered your standard meta and what you would normally play. What's interesting to note is that, especially going into Clubhouse, was there was a lot of spots with Fenrir that were broken with him. However, they did fix that in the most recent patches. So is Fenrir going to see a lot of play? Probably, because let's be real, he's just annoying. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a ban on him.
Is on the basement. Interesting lineup coming out from the Goats as well, though. Looks pretty standard, pretty flexible. They're because you want to get that verticality opened around the around kitchen, around the corridor. Rams are very quick, efficient
Attackers
way
need
to
to
do that.
locate and defuse bombs.
I don't really like the whole idea of the Rook. I think the Rook is the only pick that I'm a little bit like, because at the end of the day, it's Rook. Like, he does a lot, and yes, if you're getting naded, you're guaranteed to always go down. But when you've got so many other strong operators on the board that could potentially negate those nades that could fly and that could down you, what's the real use of Rook at that moment in time? But I think what we're seeing at the minute is going to be basically a hold that's going to be as hard as possible nailed down that basement. They're just going to want to all stack at the bottom and just really try and hold it down. One thing I will note is that I don't really like the idea of banning Kaid because, well, we still have people like Maverick on the board that just completely negate Kaid's play. So it's really just going to be interesting to see sort of what happens, because this is not exactly... You have some very traditional operators that would come out and what I'd expect to see. But then you have a few weird picks like the Bandit and the Rook, which you wouldn't tend to normally see on the bottom. I'd probably go for maybe Malusi, Maestro or something like that, especially if we're going to hard hold down here,
It did also look like there might have been a couple auto picks. When that timer hits 0, if you haven't made your selection, you will get given a random operator, and that might have been the case. But we're already seeing a very quick entry from the Goats. Want to make their way through this middle floor, try and contest down into bar. It's going to be Rook trying to take the first angle to push back the Goats.
This is a very strange play coming out from the Rook. I don't really understand it. Now, it could be good, and it could catch some people off guard, and he might be able to get an early frag, right? Especially because that Hibana, once it's thrown, and, well, why am I even talking? Because Yana immediately knocked off the board. Now, Rook needs to get the hell back. That's a nice early frag with no pressure at all. Listen, I apologize for talking bad about the Rook. He's done his job, and now he's got a kill. And now he's fallen back, and it puts them in a weird dynamic. Now, it's good, though, to note that it was just Diana who fell, which, yes, does provide a little bit of value, but ultimately doesn't provide as much value as, hey, as if Hibana had fallen, now you can't get the hatches open, right? But it is looking like Hibana does take a little bit of damage, potentially trying to get those hatches open from the Nitro cell. But it's still anybody's game to play for. But the main thing is that the attackers are down 1 with only a minute 10 left on the clock. They have to make something happen. They have to look for a flag.
Starting to apply that pressure onto bottom main now, and pairing that with the fact that they've got the buff this time to rip open the wall, try and get angles down into armory to clear players out from trying to trick off this kitchen hatch. Moto opened up, and a kill netted very quickly as Joshi, trying to be a little bit cheeky underneath the hatch, gets heavily punished. You now lose that man advantage that you had, and when it comes down to this late round execute, having that numbers parity, or if the Goats can push for a second, it's going to be really valuable in terms of creating the space for them to get that diffuser down.
Absolutely, and the main thing about time is that Capcan does apply that bit of pressure you've got to constantly be looking for, but it looks like they've had plenty of time to drone, find out where those Capcans are, and it's now up to the attackers to start making these moves. They only have 25 seconds on the clock. It's now or never. They can't really be affording to sit here and drone. They've had their drones expand and sort of take that space. It's looking like Church is going to be the most opportune place to try and push. With only 10 seconds on the board, stuns come on out, and it's looking like Bucks can make first entry. A swing on through, but like I said, time is at the virtue, and there'll be a kill from the Capcan. Gilbert will take down Chapon Will when they go for the entry. And it's looking like a default plant, a huge number of kills from Gilbert. And with that plant already down, it's looking like the type is going to come on through Gilbert with another kill. That's now 2 versus 1 as Daringo falls to Corby's. And it's now up to Corby's with 35 seconds on the clock to try and get that defuse off. But with 2 players left on this attack holding this bomb defuse, it's going to be hard, and Gilbert will clean up the rest. And it'll be Corby's falling. And a first nice attacking round from nothing but the GOATs. But you have to ask, and you have to remember, God, time was whittling down there, and it looked a little bit scarce for the attacking team, but hey, they pulled it off in the end.
I think that's perfectly okay, though, right? You take your time. Yeah, there's only 20 seconds left on that clock, but they had a very clear plan for how they wanted to pull off this execute. It was going to have the Ash Habana pushing for that main stairs pressure. They can apply down the long corridor, make sure that these rotations aren't coming through. They've brute forced their way in through Motor Door, using those flashbangs to force back the comp angle so that you the close angle, so you can't play it tight with a comfortable shotgun, for example. You're forced to take a little bit of a longer range gunfight. They're going to swing around that, they get the pre-fire off, they create that space themselves next to Soda, that plant starts going down, and suddenly they have massive amounts of control in that round. I really like that GOATs had a clear game plan for how they wanted to play for that execution, how they wanted to get the plant down, and they pushed themselves in a way that facilitated for that objective. Really nice play from the GOATs, even if, like you mentioned, do that a little bit, like 10 seconds early, to give yourself a little bit of breathing room, and I think you're smooth sailing.
100%. For me personally, I don't like the whole rushing in at last moment, especially when Capcan's on the board. We did see that be a very big advocate for the defense at one point. But the flashes, in all honesty, were perfect. They threw them in deep, and they cut off the right angles when they needed to. And, well, now we've moved straight up into what is arguably not a very good sight anymore after some of the changes, but exactly what I thought would happen. We've got his army, and oh no, it's the shotgun. It's the nightmare. The AA-12. What a disgusting gun. Warden as well is another very interesting choice, but I could see on why that might work, and we'll see how that plays out coming on through.
Yeah, I think especially when you look at the fact that they used those flashbangs efficiently in the round before, but I'm expecting a little bit of a rush play here. They're going to open up this breach, they're going to brute force their way through, and that server window's coming down very, very swiftly once we start seeing breach open up. And late bandit trick coming through, and great use of the charge from the Zoff to deny the trick. They're just going to swarm through.
This is too good. It's a 5 versus 3 straight away. But we do see 2 more kills coming through. It's a 5 versus 1 and a flawless run for the GOATs. I mean, there's literally not enough time for even our observer or for us to even keep up with that one. That is what you call a perfect execution. EMPs come out, Thermite on the wall, Bandit goes, oh, listen, I'm going to come in, I'm going to Bandit trick that. Really simple stuff, not a problem. Boom, Zofia, stun. Listen, is there a better round of Siege than that? A perfect use of utility and a perfect use of everything. And a perfect use of space, may I add. They took out rafters, they pushed straight on in, and it was just frag after frag, and it all collapsed like a tower of cards. Well done and well played to the GOATs. That was absolutely perfectly executed. Perfect game of Siege.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
And, I mean, that's just the objective of that push, right? You just rush in so quickly, they don't expect you to run through. I think, again, I mentioned it, but I've got to give that praise to Daringo. Fantastic use of the concussive blast to stop the bandit from placing down the battery to make sure that wall gets opened up. So it's been a really good start for the GOATs. I think they want to continue this pressure as we're seeing the Wolfhounds still sort of unable to find their footing on this defensive half. And I mean, you know, it's going to be interesting to see. They're still having some issues with in terms of how they want to decide their loadouts, and I think that indecision is starting to hurt them a little bit. And you're looking at how, on the flip side, the GOATs have been very precise, very much all on the same page. Wolfhounds still sort of scrapping their defenses together a little bit, and that's not the start you want. When you start out on Clubhouse, you're the team that gets to set the pace of the game. You're the one that's supposed to be sending out that message to your opponent how you want to So far, that's not really working out. A late to the reinforcement means that a quick spray from Doringo early on is going to take not only a lot of health, but keep that wall soft, which makes approaching server a lot more digestible now for the attack.
Absolutely, and we saw Corby's actually take a significant amount of damage, now being thrown 37 HP. Of course, the Lion doesn't know this to be able to communicate that, but it just adds that additional pressure onto that Bandit. He has to be a little bit more careful in where he's going to sit. You know, a couple of shots to the foot, if he's sat in a bad position, could be bad. And it's looking like they're going to be going straight for this Jacuzzi wall, which is always the ample play to go for. It's looking like with Mute, though, and a Bandit on the boards, they get rid of one Thermite charge, which is a perfect use of utility. And well done to Corby's, but he has to be careful here. One Ash charge could put him on his back, considering how low on HP he currently is. And, well, you see, the thing is, they did use that Ash charge pretty early on, but that means now that Ash charge can't be used to take away the castle barricades, which could bite them in the foot at a later round, and it's looking like that's exactly what's going on right now. Luckily enough, there's another one in the back pocket, so they are able to open that wall open, so they are able to try and move that Bandit off that wall. And it's looking like Thermite's going to be able to eventually get that wall open, which will apply some more pressure straight onto that side.
You've got the breach open, you've worked away around Highway, you're under very little pressure coming in from Cash, and ZK gets you the opening pick that you're looking for, finding Dodgy the Legion as well, so no more Goose to be deployed throughout the round. A quick aggressive swing in towards the bathroom, gets a lot of damage onto Champ, but he's going to swing back with a shotgun and take an injure before getting a second as well, holding down Bathroom as the rest of his team crumbles in the background.
Champ just said, "This is my perimeter," and he's shown it, but Reverse immediately takes out Champ, so it means nothing, and it's all up to Copper now in a 1v4. Such a high mountain to climb. Can he do it is the real question. 50 seconds on the clock. So much of this site is in the attacker's favor. Copper has to push through these tight little narrow areas. Bit of a free fire coming on through from the ramp. Copper shoots, so that's an alert. It's looking like Jonk is going to go for a plant, which means it's going to add extra pressure now onto Copper to make a play. As he looks straight into Logi, he just looks away at the wrong time. And it's looking like these teams are playing absolutely perfect, and Reverse will get the kill on the Copper. And can I just say, a perfect use of cross angles right there, and a perfect use of using your angles and your power that you currently have within your man advantage to make sure that your team doesn't fall to the last man standing. Really well played right there to the Goats, and they definitely threw that back into their favor from what was looking a little bit rough at one point.
There was some good signs of life coming out from the Wolfhounds, right? Obviously, Champ holding down Bathroom was a really big turning point in the round and gave a lot of opportunities to the Wolfhounds to be able to try and find something there. But again, with so many openings being taken advantage of, there wasn't that extension through in towards Cash or Server. So the ability to contest onto Highway, incredibly small, which gave that safety net to the Lion, to the Ash, to keep looking down into the site from windows and limit that movement of the Wolfhound inside of sight. That led to the opening picks go in their favor. So yes, you get that quick double over by the breach, but ultimately it doesn't lead to anything because there's no one else to pick up off of that momentum, feed off of it, and you end up in a situation where the car gets isolated by themselves, locked out of their own bomb site with very little to do. Again, really good understanding by the Goats of what they're coming up against and reading into it very nicely, but this time around, the Wolfhounds have had a little bit of think to help them do. They've got the slightly altered lineup. I like their addition to the Valkyrie, especially when we're seeing how wide the Goats are casting their net. This is going to give the Wolfhounds that opportunity to fight that information game, hiding those cameras away and just feeding it slowly back to themselves so that they can start to look for these opportunities. They can be the team to start hunting down for these opening gunfights.
100%. The one thing I will say as well is the Goats are they're playing a very sort of just straight and narrow game, right? They aren't doing anything special because they don't need to do anything special. They don't need to go hunting for people. They don't need a drone. They don't need to break much utility because there's not a lot in the way. The only big thing they had to fight right there was Corby's on the Bandit, and they did that pretty quick. And it's a rush, but what? There's no way in hell. There's no way in hell.
So they just rammed themselves into sight, got the plant down, no one in gym to contest, wins the gunfight, just pushing down towards Jacuzzi 3. Corby's down inside of sight as they start to wrap around, looks for the jump out onto Highway, but it's not going to be enough, and once again, a 1v5 situation, and the cutoff of construction just continues to keep things clean. Look at the Goats. That's their second rush attempt. That's their second rush success. 2 for 2 on the quick plays.
I'm sorry, I'm really like speechless, and I mean this in the essence of you had Valkyrie who has intel. Fair enough, maybe the camera's on sight. Corby's was sat on the other side, didn't hear the plant coming on down. Maybe the RAM was too loud. I don't know, but how does that happen? You have Legion as well, another person to give you intel. I mean, it's as if for a second on a site which is like, Clubhouse is all about being very strong in your
Defenders,
hunkering, right?
protect your bombs
It's
from being
about
defused by attackers.
holding and really being like what I like to call a stonehold defense, right? It's a very stronghold heavy. You've got to like really push out of our angles because we are sat exactly where we want to be. But in that essence, they just went, "Hey boys, if you want the site, have at it. Like, take it all you want." And well, they just took it. I mean, I don't really understand where Wolfhounds are sort of going. Now, we've seen the Vigil come out, which I think is a good play. At the end of the day, try and add some pressure where Goats has to try and sweep people
10
out.
seconds left.
But then he's going to go and use the Boss G, which just makes me go,
5 seconds
okay.
left before
And I'll
insertion.
tell you this right now. If Reverse sticks the Monty, which he has done,
Attackers
a
objective is to
brilliant
locate
counter
a
to this
bomb and
Vigil.
defuse it.
They've read the situation perfectly and they've gone, Vigil's not going to be a problem. Because at the end of the day, we'll send Monty to drone him out. Not a problem on our front.
Opening up dirt. Good first step. Still got the Havana to play for the hatches as well. So altogether, pretty concise push so far. That Monty obviously going to help them push out and sweep the map initially on their roam clear. But more specifically, when you're looking at coming down into the base and seeing a massive entryway, right? You push down main stairs or more commonly down dirt. It's going to give you that ability to force the defenders back, and since the Monty or shield rework on attack, right, you don't want to be caught at that melee range. It's a death sentence. So already looking to try and toy with some aggression, but Champ, you don't want to overstay your welcome here. As the pings are coming through, you should really take a little back step. Going to walk up forwards and get the kill onto Gilbert behind, but immediately switched out by the quick melee coming out from reversed, and he's going to keep just peeking up in towards the site. Finally, I've had a player on dummies come back to keep an eye on the doorway. They've pulled out cameras here. There's a real opportunity if the Goats want to pick up a little bit of speed.
100%. I didn't really understand what Champ was doing, but he got the kill in the end, which was good on his part. And it's looking like Vigil is also going to fall now, which is very unfortunate for Wolfhounds. Doesn't look like anyone knows he's down currently. It must have been some kind of wall bang, potentially, or maybe looking like Ash, the G36, done a bit of damage, and he went down. Means that pressure is still looming somewhere, but where's the pressure when Bajonk is just up above, taking you out? And now this Monty's applying so much pressure on the site, and it's just bullying these defenders. Corby's will fall, it's all to Copper. Oh, it's not Copper, sorry, it's Josh Moshi, who now has to make something work as the plant goes down. He's currently inside Moto. Can he get anything going? Probably not. This is an awful tough one for him. He does get a couple of shots into ZK, but it's looking like this Monty's on the hunt. A couple of shots onto him, and it's a nice pinch by Doringo. And well, that is Goats once again taking another round, making it 5-0. Wolfhounds just constantly having to jump over a hurdle. They just can't seem to jump high enough for.
Do you know, is Moshi the name of the Go-Go? Was the first Go-Go, set one, Go-Go 1. Fun little trivia fact. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, again, another really good push coming in from Goats, and they very clearly have a massive advantage over the Wolfhounds here. I think we're looking at the performance coming through. I think Goats immediately is screaming out to me as the favourites for this season. Obviously, you look at their roster, Deringo, Gilbert, Reversed, Bionk, all players who've played together within Unisiege as well. So this is another example of Unisiege coming into Esports Wales and really showing what they've got put together for themselves. And I really like to see that, right? Teams that have come together in sort of, sometimes quite strange environments. You look at how a lot of these teams are built within sort of tier 4 of Siege. It's like, oh, I know this guy from Ranked, or I know this guy from a Discord server that I joined through another Discord server through a friend's uncle, and you're like, oh, okay, like, it's pretty haphazardly put together, but it's like, no, we just happen to be at the same university together, we get our games in.
10 seconds to go.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that front. I think how teams are formulated and just how quickly someone can go from
Attackers
just
are moving out
being
to locate a
this
bomb
guy
and
who I met in rank to potentially one of the best players in EU. It's crazy these days, right? Like, people come and go, and that's the interesting part about Siege, I think, is that unlike other games where you have, like, the same names that pop year on year, like I said, one season, I don't know, someone could be popping off the next season, he's done absolutely nothing, and then it's this team that was doing absolute shambles the last season. It's just great to see. But the one thing I will say about Wolfhounds, I just think that they're just not really understanding what Goats want to do. I think Goats at the minute are making Wolfhounds play their game, and Wolfhounds have just gone, you keep playing it because we're playing our own. And that's a problem, because time and time again, Goats seem to be very strong at their game. And, you know, Wolfhounds just haven't really adapted to it yet. We've seen a few picks and a few times where players like Champ, for example, were like, okay, I'm just going to ego challenge you because I know I can outfrag one of you. And that's what he does. He gets the kill, does get refragged, but hey, he's taken one off the boards, right? It's one of those things that I think that these teams, Wolfhounds slowly adapting, but they just aren't doing it quick enough. It's stuff like this Hibana getting this hatch so early, open so early on, is just going to be a real ball ache for Wolfhounds coming on through, because now the pressure will get applied onto site. And well, are this team, a team like Wolfhounds, going to be able to hold it? We've seen them struggle so far, but with this mirror setup, fingers crossed, things might go a little bit better for them.
Got all their hatches open up now as well. There is a camera at the top of the stairs you might want to deal with, but prioritizing the mirror window first, deal with that one second. A little bit of hesitation. Go though, and they're not aware that it hasn't been gone. They just use their second Ash breaching round as well. That's going to be a really upsetting bit of information the moment they wander around that corner and start getting sprayed at. Very unfortunate. I'm not quite sure why that hasn't worked, but still aggression inside of dirt now, looking for that side angle. But Champ once again gets the first kill, and this time there's no Monty to force him back. So Wolfhounds already looking so much better than in any round previously. There's 50 seconds left on the clock. 3 members left for Goats. And Wolfhound's still looking pretty healthy as a drop immediately down into sight comes through. Shuffling round towards AKs, gets a rotated swing, takes out reverse. He's aware there's one more in the corner as the impacts come through to try and get aggressive with the Deagle as the spray comes over the top. You miss the head of the shot, you switch to the SMG, you gun him down. Joshi with a shotgun to finish off Geringo, and they get their first round, and it's a flawless defeat.
Wolfhounds. Man, that was really good. Now, I will say that there was a lot of misplays from Goats there, right? We had the Ash breaching rounds really fail coming out from the side of the Goats, and I think that if, you know, if, for example, we had an opportunity where they had, you know, maybe actually hit that mirror, things would have played very differently. You also had the Twitch as well to counter those mirrors, which it looked like none of the mirrors actually got opened in the end. We saw Champ absolutely popping off once again. Champ sat in the same angle, went for the swing. This time he didn't have a Monty to deal with in his face. So, I mean, it was just amazing plays coming out from the Wolfhounds, and you know what? To see Wolfhounds at least go, listen, we aren't this bad that if you make mistakes, you know, that we're just gonna let you run away with it and just sort of, you know, like I said, it's one of those things of Wolfhounds just knew that even with the Goats failing, they could still swing stuff back, and it shows that the Goats haven't just won by default; they still have to keep trying to fight if they want to take this. But obviously, the interesting part now becomes that Wolfhounds now go on the attack and Goats go on the defense. And it's interesting to see how these teams' dynamic switches up.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
5-1 so far. It is still quite a steep hill to overcome. And I don't know if, I don't want to be too pessimistic, obviously, but with the way that we've seen things play out so far, their attacking half, I feel very confident that they're going to have a very set-up game plan for this defense. And Clubhouse is a map that traditionally has been very defender-sided. So, we will have to see what Wolfhounds can pick up for us this evening. I mean, Carly coming out immediately is certainly interesting.
10 seconds left.
Monty very common for trying to clear out Raft. I'm reloading. But quite a
5
condensed
seconds
setup
insertion.
coming in from the Goats, who have closed off all of destruction.
Attackers are moving out to
We've
locate a
seen
bomb and
plays
defuse it.
with Azami specifically, people try to extend out,
Attackers' bomb
but
diffuser
keepers
has
up
been
to add
dropped.
the sort of defensive
Attackers will cover
territory
the
and play a lot around the
Stay behind me!
No Azami in tow this time, which also makes Rafters itself a little bit more vulnerable, but you've got things like the Tuber Arm to try and make up for that, and will certainly help them with trying to keep that main server breach closed. Interesting how Wolfhounds feel the fact that they might not have get the wall open.
So I like this. As you mentioned, the Monty is going to be trying to take Rafters early, but the problem and the thing they haven't really realized is that Cocktail that currently has a mirror in it. Now, I absolutely adore that as a setup, but Nitro does come on through, doesn't unfortunately do any damage. Now, this Rafters is a definite huge weakness that could fall very early on. However, I'm confident that these players, especially if the Monty heads up top, I'm confident in saying that ZK can deal with Monty and keep you busy for as long as possible. That Monty's not going to have any teammates that are going to be able to come on through as long as the mirror's sat in Cocktail. And with that Turboro, with the Bandits, yeah, good luck getting that wall open. You ain't ever going to. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how, as time goes on, what exactly happens. We have two set on Rafters currently. Monty's able to give pings, letting someone know one's on R3, one's on the 90. We do have the Turboro, who's playing underneath, so we can still get the wall and also help. This is just amazing when you really think about how he can hold two different things at once. We do see Jaeger, unfortunately, falling those two Corbies, and that's a good start. Now, for the Wolfhounds, the reverse immediately takes out Corbies, and unfortunately, it's not a refrag back from the Monty. Monty really needed to get a melee in right there, and he does actually manage to do it, so this is really good. Now, Copper taking out reverse 3 versus 4. Wall is open, Rafters exposed. If they remove Turbo from the Cocktail, they can go for a default plant right here. Smokes do come on out, and the drone will go live as well from the Monty. Probably looking for an opportunity right here, but Champ immediately gets a kill, and it's now in a 2 versus 1. Bajong and Doringo have to hold this out for the Goats, and Wolfhounds have really shown that they can play attack a lot better than defense. Default plant comes on up, but Bajong has to swing on through. Sapim immediately gets a kill onto Bajong, but Doringo immediately takes out Joshi Moshi. And it's now 45 seconds on the clock, a 1 versus 3. Doringo immediately rushes up these red stairs, looking for a pick, looks immediately at the window, one on the breach, and it's a swing from the Cali, and that's Doringo falling, and Wolfhounds now making the score 5-2 with a very, very strong round of attack right there.
Yeah, it was really nicely played out. And again, you look at Clubhouse as a map that you can really play to the checklist formula. And they did just that. They did exactly what they had to do. They played for that main breach. They got it open. It cuts off the fallback from Rafters. They put the Monty up on Rafters. They have a second player come to lend him that support. They get the pick onto ZK. They're able to trade out with reverse afterwards. And that put them in this really commanding position in the round. And we saw this attempt to try and push in, try and get aggressive onto the Wolfhounds and get cut away. Really, really nice to see. And
Defenders,
this is a
protect your
good start
bombs
for them, right? You
from
have to
by
win that first
attackers.
round. You've got to keep this match point threat at bay for as long as you possibly can. Just because it removes any wiggle room for a big play to come out from a player from Goats or for a mess up to come out from yourself if you want to leave that cushion as comfortable as possible. And interestingly, we're seeing Goats rerun the same bomb site. I don't know if I'm a massive fan of this cool. I actually am not very hot on Cash Server myself. I think a lot of people aren't anymore. It's really fallen off in terms of its popularity as a primary bomb site, moving now to a tertiary almost. And so to see the Goats want to sort of have another crack at it, take another go, to me it screams two things. The first, that they feel very confident in both their gym and their basement. I'm sure we'll see those come back, and I'm sure we'll see them come up soon and be somewhat successful for them. But it's also just seems to me that they really want to figure out if they can make this setup work, if there's a way for them to correct the mistakes from last time. Notably, keeping that Monty a little bit more restricted. I think we could have even seen Copper go a little bit more aggressively on Rafters, right? Quite passive, quite willing to sit back and wait for a teammate to come in. When that mirror is distracted, you need to drop that shield and get involved in the team.
100% agree. Now, we do see Oryx, which is always a very interesting pick, especially against the Monty, considering that there are, in my opinion, stronger picks. Nitro comes out, 73 damage. Not a lot for Monty, let's be real. He's still going to be the mountain he always has. We see Oryx playing down in this oil pit area, protecting those kills. But the real question is that, what are Goats thinking right now? I mean, Rafters was completely free for you. Surely you don't think it was that easy. Reverse immediately gets taken out by... Reverse gets a kill onto Corby's and Copper will fall. Oh no, sorry, what am I saying? Copper will get a kill, sorry. And that's really good, but the real question is this Oryx going to apply too much pressure onto this Monty for later on? They don't know where he's currently in here. But hey, listen, Copper is just absolutely fragging out a couple of shots onto the mirror, and it's now 4 versus 4. It's still anybody's game to play for currently.
Yeah, they don't know the Oryx is underneath the staircase, so a massive opportunity for upset. If you can get a kill or look up at the Monty behind you, has the shield be extended? There we go. Thank you. Don't think I'm supposed to be giving call-outs to the teams, but there we go. Going to look for the second onto Ace outside now. Gets a hefty chunk of damage. Can't quite find that killing blow, but that's going to be reversed. Who walks up from down the lobby, grabs another kill, looking for an engagement outside now, as well as Scooby in an unenviable position. You got the glance, which does help. Sniper rifle, but can't quite land the shots to the narrow doorway as you're left alone. Pop with the pistol, try to get a couple sprays out, and on the last bullet, gets the pre-fire kill.
Welcome to Siege. That's all you can say, is it's welcome to Siege, and it's now a 3 versus 1. I mean, let's be real. If this man clutches this up, I don't know at this point. He can take my paycheck. That's all I gotta say. There ain't no way in hell does this man clutch up. Not that I don't believe in him, it's just, well, it's Cali, and well, look, he's about to absolutely get nailed. Doringo cleaning up the rounds, and the one thing I'll say this, yeah, you talked heavily about how you didn't like the fact that goats were going in the same place, and I was a huge advocate for that as well. And I really sat there and I was like, this is strange. And then I saw the Oryx come out and I thought to myself, this is only going one way. Let's be real. Oryx is going to try and charge. He's going to get a headshot and it's bye-bye. Why not bring Ella, Echo, whatever, Legion even, to play on that rafters? And you know what? The funny part is that they noticed that Oryx was going to be sat on rafters, and they knew if they send Monty up, he's going to be by himself, he's going to get knocked on the ground, no one's going to help him. So then they went, we'll bring Cappy Tau so we can immediately firebolt the Oryx. So he's in a bad position. And the funny part is Oryx just went, I'm just going to not sit anywhere on rafters and give you rafters for completely free.
Defenders,
And the weird part is that Goats saw rafters free and they... not Goats, sorry, Wolfhounds saw rafters for free and they did the right thing, which was take it. But they didn't think about everything else they needed to do before then. I would like to have seen a bit of pressure on Cocktail. After Cocktail got taken, rafters, breach, go for plant. Instead, they just went, we'll just take rafters and we'll completely forget about the mirrorless in Cocktail. And, well, we're all for it, unfortunately. But I digress, because we are now moving on to match point. And, of course, it's everybody's favourite one, the basement site. And we got everybody's favourite Italian man, Maestro.
Yeah, I like Maestro a lot. I think especially that you get that third evil eye, especially on a site as sort of wide as Church Arsenal. You can really control a lot of it with those 3 cameras now, right? You put one in the back of Armory, one towards the front, over by the sort of blue cages. That gives you a really good coverage for whatever the attack wants to try and do, and still leaves you that one in pocket if you want to place it on that traditional jukebox position as well, or you can be a little bit more sort of funky with it. Try and hide one, either, not hide, but place one, generator for a bit of information. You now get a little bit more flexibility with that third charge when you're trying to get at. Already see the Maverick come through. I think the Maverick's interesting. You make the line across one side of the dirt wall. I'm sure this is going to become a full hole so you can actually get access into it itself. Start to apply that pressure down dirt, but it looks like we're not seeing Goats contest it quite as heavily as we saw coming in from the Wolfhounds. They're willing to give just a little bit of space over to the attack, but acknowledging that getting out of dirt itself is the real challenge that you have ahead of you.
100%. I mean, the main thing about dirt is if you give it and you let people take it, it's about what do we lose? We lose AKs and we lose a blue rotate. But hey, if our player can rotate straight into Church from blue, what does that really mean for us, right? Now, ultimately, as well, a lot of players adapted to open up the wall between sites and then being able to get angles straight onto that dirt doorway. And at the end of the day, when you swing from dirt, you've got that choice of where on earth do I look? And if you're unlucky with where you're looking, guess what? It's bye-bye. Now, the interesting thing is that this Vigil and this Ella I saw earlier were heavy roaming. So the real interesting part is going to be, is this roam going to be successful? How strong is it going to be? And the real question, are they even ready for this? Are Wolfhounds going to be able to do this? Because at the end of the day, we've all been very hard at sitting in sight and just holding sight. We haven't really had to deal with much roamers in this game at all. So are Wolfhounds going to be able to adapt to that? Well, we've only a minute left on the clock. They haven't got time to adapt. And the real question becomes, what happens next. It's looking like they're just going to be holding above. They have that kitchen hatch control all the way up in Logi. And well, they're just going to basically sit there, and that's boom! 1 kill for Gilbert. This is a pure example of why you top-down sweep. Perfect example. They just didn't expect him to be sat up there, and that's a first kill on the board. And with only 35 seconds on the board, you haven't really got much of a chance to really make a replay. But it's looking like Corby's might potentially get into a fight now with Gilbert, but the real question is that who comes out on top? And well, you haven't really got time to sit here all game, Corby's. You've only got 20 seconds on the clock. You need to make a move. You need to swing him or get swung. Reverse gets a kill into Joshy Moshi. Corby's just being a little bit too scared. And well, will fall. It's now a 5 versus 1. It's all up to Copper, who comes through dirt, swings on through. And that's a flawless round from the GOATs. And of course, our first round winners and our first match winners will indeed be the GOATs after a very strong and dominant play coming out on Clubhouse.
Really good showing from them, right? That's exactly what you want to see for the first day of games. And, you know, I think that's... I mean, you couldn't have asked for much more from them, right? It's going to be a great start for their season. Get the full points possible. Get a good round differential as well. If that comes back to matter, I'm not too convinced it will. I think you look at what's going to come next for the GOATs. They got their game against Pirates, who are another very good team. If you know, there's some carryover from last season. I think if they can carry on, that should be a pretty interesting game. But that's not going to be until next week. So I think that could be one to wait for. But until then, I think great start for them for their season.
Absolutely. And I will say, Wolfhounds, they started to play better. And they definitely showed, like I said previously, it's not a case that GOATs were... it was actually, sorry, let me read that. It was not that Wolfhounds were bad at Siege, it was just that GOATs were better. When GOATs made mistakes and Wolfhounds really capitalized on it, we really showed and really were able to see Wolfhounds' strengths. But GOATs, once again, showing a deeper understanding of Siege. They took out Vigil, they knew that Wolfhounds loves that Monty, and if they see that Vigil, they're probably going to play Monty, because let's be real, who wants to sit there and try and drone him out? You might as well push him with Monty. So what did GOATs do? They brought Ella. Ella's concussions, and also with new impacts. With Vigil's impacts means that any shield player that decides to come and push Vigil is more than likely going to die. I mean, it was just a pure example of how teams are supposed to work together and cooperate. And ultimately, well, GOATs are the winners because GOATs played better. But I will say this, Wolfhounds, don't let yourselves down because at the end of the day, you're not bad at the game. Because you quite clearly showed that when GOATs didn't play to their best capacity, you were able to smash them back. I mean, we even saw a flawless round from you guys at one point. It wasn't like these were sort of plays where it was a lot of the case where it was you guys getting rolled or anything like that. It was still across the board, still really well played from the Wolfhounds. And they had definitely some run-home moments right there.
Yeah, and I think Wolfhounds obviously will have a game soon. I think that will be good for them to get another bit of games under their belt. The way the format will work is it will go to a semi-finals into a final, so 2 teams from the group will get to escape. And it's a 3-team group, right? You've got the GOATs, you've got the Wolfhounds, and you've got the Pirates. So it will be interesting to see if they're able to win their second game. Obviously, just that one win, that puts you out, because you've beat the only other team in the group. So there's still a good chance for them to make it to that playoffs if they want to, but I think it will be quite a hard-fought game if they end up having to play it. But that is it for tonight's games. Our second game that we were going to have is been postponed due to some player timing issues. So we will just be signing off for the evening. Thank you very much for joining us for the game that we've had today. The GOATs looking very, very strong, living up to the namesake a little bit. I think they'll be liking to see. And I guess that's it, right? Conch, thank you for joining us. It's been lovely, lovely being back. Any thoughts on today's game? Like final takeaways?
Final takeaway is that at the end of the day, both teams played well, but can you beat the greatest of all time?
And on that note, have a lovely evening. We'll catch you next time.
Can you look into my eyes.